Hey everyone, it's Pete Schooner again with Ohio Today Magazine and the Ohio Alumni Association. Today I'm joined by Stephanie Cesear. She is a 13 grad, right?
Yes.
Cool. And she is joining us from her home in New York City. And she just wants to share a little bit about, what's life been like there for her. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. I'm wondering if you could start just how are you now? I just kind of want to check in. How are you doing? Obviously, we're all going through a lot of big changes. How are you right now?
Yeah, so I actually am in a really good place right now. As I'm sure you know, I actually had contracted the virus. And as of today, I'm 4 weeks out from receiving my positive test results. Fully recovered. I recovered very quickly. I had just mild symptoms, luckily. So I'm doing so much better. And I'm actually very much in my work from home routine now and my quarantine routine. So doing good over here.
Awesome. That's so great to hear. I know you're involved with the chapter, the alumni chapter in the city there. And so when we heard that you had gotten the virus, everyone was very concerned, but we're very happy to hear you're on the mend, making a full recovery. What, if you don't mind sharing, just sort of what was that experience like? I mean, luckily, it sounds like it was a relatively mild case, but still, just with everything going on and knowing how serious it could be,
Yeah.
what was that like for you?
Yeah, it definitely was scary at some points, especially because I didn't know for a couple days there if I had it, if it was the normal flu. And I think that's kind of what goes through everyone's mind right now, or like, is this thing I'm feeling a symptom? So that was definitely, it was a very tough mental battle more than anything. I have to say it was very similar to a flu I've experienced in the past. Like it was very common on my symptoms. And I got it relatively early on in the New York City, I guess, stage of um, of those who have been contracted with, or those who have contracted the virus. So um, I wish that I had started working from home just a little bit sooner than I had. There was probably a chance that I wouldn't have caught it, but I'm very, very lucky to have recovered very quickly. I do live by myself, so I, didn't have to worry about friends or family members or contracting it, giving it to anybody else and spreading it. So I pretty much just kept to myself. I had some people drop groceries off to my doorstep, which was really nice of them, and some like cold and flu medicine that I was running low on. So that was really, really helpful. But other than that, I just kind of like stayed to myself and I try to sleep it off most of the time, actually.
Oh, good. Yeah, just again, so happy to hear that it was relatively manageable and that you're on the other side of it all. So just tell us a little bit about what life has been like in the city and how much it's changed. All the stay at home, changes and restrictions. It feels real dramatic for all of us, kind of no matter where we are. But I'm sure in a city like New York, it was even kind of more profound of a change in the vibe and everything. So just tell us, what has that experience been like?
Yeah, so I hadn't left my apartment in a couple weeks after the stay-at-home rules had been in place. So at first I wasn't getting out, but I had friends who have cars and were able to like get out, and they were filming, what was happening, and it looked very eerie. Like I don't think I've ever seen New York like that. I don't, very long time. It's been so um, just empty of human life and just so kept inside. It was really kind of eerie and quiet for once, actually. Um, but now that the weather's changing, it's getting a little nicer. I think people are kind of easing up. I see everybody outside wearing masks. I don't think I've seen one person go without one, and even if it's a bandana or a scarf. So people here are taking that very seriously, which is nice. Even at the grocery store, I noticed that there are signs that said if you don't have a mask, you can't shop. Um, and things like that. So there are a lot of precautions happening, which is great. I know that the trains are still running, I guess, on a very light schedule. I don't know anybody who's still taking the train just out of precaution, but I'm sure there are essential workers who need it to get to work, which is the hard part because I think in New York City we all rely on that public transportation, and without it, it's definitely a challenge. So that's one thing. I have seen a lot of bikers out actually. A lot of people, I think, because the weather's nice and they feel like they can still get around that way and be somewhat isolated. So I've seen a lot of bicyclists. Um, and then a lot of cars, actually. I think people feel safe in their vehicle, like they're not able to contract or spread it if they do have it. So I feel like people feel much safer in cars. Not so much like Ubers or Lyfts or cabs, but just their own personal vehicles, which it's just been very different. Typically, you know, we use Uber and Lyft and cabs like so much here, along with like the public transportation, the trains and buses. So it's definitely a little bit different. But I think in pockets of neighborhoods, people are still going out. I mean, I'm lucky that my grocery store is on my block, so I don't even have to go very far to get anything. So I think people are just staying within their couple block radius, and hopefully, and then obviously you have essential workers who are still out and about and working, which you know, I really feel for them, and I get nervous for them, and I really just hope that they're okay. But it seems like the city has rallied around them, and I think at 7 or 8 o'clock every day there's like a cheer that where people mostly in Manhattan are like opening up their windows and cheering and banging pots and pans, and it is like so uniting. And I think it's really something that the healthcare workers really appreciate, and they feel very valued. So it's cool to see a city of 8 million people do things like that.
Oh, absolutely. I bet that's just, it's a nice bright spot amid sort of all of this other, sort of darkness, really. Where else are you sort of finding those bright spots or a silver lining or anything through all of this? Where are you finding, hope?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think everybody's searching for those bright spots right now. For me, it's just keeping in contact with friends and family. And I find that I'm connecting with them more than I do in my normal life. Like, I have so many group chats right now that I'm in, and they might be on Do Not Disturb, but, you know, it's family members from across the country that I don't talk to this regularly, who are just, you know, giving us updates and asking how we're doing or sending a funny photo of their dog that just kind of like brightens our day. Um, and I love that. I personally like to keep in contact with my friends and family as much as I can. I'm seriously talking to people I haven't talked to in years, like friends from high school that I haven't talked to in so long, but you just feel this need to reach out to them and say like, "Hey, I've been thinking about you. Like, how are you doing in your situation?" and things like that. And that comforts me, and it excites me to get on a Zoom conference call with. We did one for all the local Bobcats actually, and it was like the bright spot of the week. I got so excited that we were going to do like a little networking event via Zoom. So I think a lot of people are doing that right now, and it sounds really, you know, I don't know if that sounds like the new norm, but it it really warms my heart to know that we're all still wanting to communicate with one another and want to reach out to people, even if we haven't talked to them in, you know, a decade. Um, so it's that human connection for me, and just making sure that I'm checking in on people if I can.
Totally. Totally. So with the Bobcat connection in mind, what would you say to current students who, really had their last semester, especially, the seniors especially, had their last semester plans completely thrown out the window, really changed just their final experience with Ohio. What would you say to them? Do you have any advice or perspectives to share?
Yeah, and I can relate. I mean, Athens is like my second home and always will be. And so if that were to happen to me, I would truly be having a breakdown and I would be devastated, like truly. So I can't fully imagine what they're going through. But, you know, for me, like this can't take away from all the memories that you had made. And, you know, hopefully when things calm down, like you can still go visit your friends, you can make plans with them to see them again. I don't think that it's a permanent thing where, you know, sorry, and I know a lot of the students, that was their biggest fear was that I didn't get to see so and so again after spring break, and I thought I was going to go get to see them. You know, there will be a time and a place where we can all go back and, you know, make it a point to see each other, and I think that that's something that they can look forward to is making those plans to see each other and going back to Athens because Athens will always be there. I look forward to going back to Athens, especially in a time like this when I am all cooped up. So I'm dreaming about Court Street a little bit. So I think that that's one thing of hope is that it'll always be there and we can always go back. And you know those friendships aren't gone, and those memories that you guys have made will never fully disappear. Um, but I really, really feel for them. You know, I understand it's not easy, and it's my personal opinion that we're all doing the right thing right now. And we have to remind ourselves that we're all in this right now. Everyone's going through something. So, but we all have to go through this in order to help everybody else out in the long term. So I think we're all doing the right thing right now, and everyone's going through something. So I can relate to them, and I feel for a lot of people right now too.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, Athens will always be there, so we can always all come back there. I think whenever the next moment that everyone is able to do that, I expect a lot of people back in town and
Yeah,
enjoying this again. So
I've been
I look forward to that.
yeah, I've been thinking about making a donkey coffee order and like getting it shipped out to New York. So I've been like messaging my New York friends who live near me in Brooklyn and saying like, who wants in on some chai or some coffee? Like, let's make a big order and get it delivered here and try to help out some of those local businesses who I know are struggling as well. And then bring a little light to our life as well. So that's just something that's on our radar.
Awesome. I know they'd appreciate it. So, well, anyway, Stephanie, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate your time and just sharing your story. Um, Please continue to take care of yourself. Say hi to all the Bobcats in New York for us,
I will.
and hopefully we'll see you back in Athens soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
Bye.